Imagine waking up to discover that a $34.5 billion cornerstone of America's farming economy had vanished. Not with a storm, not with a fire, but with a single corporate memo. Overnight, Case IH, the red titan of U.S. agriculture, pulled the plug on factory after factory, leaving 8,732 workers jobless and silencing the heartbeat of rural towns that once fed the world. No picket lines, no sirens, just a one-page email marked immediate closure. And 1,000 main streets plunged into darkness. The shock wasn't measured only in lost jobs, but in crumbling futures. $34.5 billion in agricultural machinery value destabilized $7.8 billion in annual rural income at risk, and millions of acres facing equipment shortages just as planting season loomed. This wasn't a layoff. It was an economic earthquake, and the aftershocks are only getting started. Tonight, we're counting down the 5 devastating ripple effects that followed that cruel sunrise. Consequences still unraveling across America's heartland, still threatening family farms, local banks, schools, and futures. Number 5. Racine's lightning strike. Racine, Wisconsin, woke to a corporate obituary. Crescent Moon shift workers, still smelling of gear oil, were told their key cards would no longer open the gate at noon. By sunset, the town felt hollowed out. Lunch counters counted half the usual coffee refills, church bingo canceled midweek, and the local AM radio host opened phone lines to tears instead of farm reports. It was not just a factory. It was a gravity well. Generations earned pensions. Under its roof, sponsored science fairs, bought base boats from the dealership 5 blocks away. When that gravity vanished, everything else drifted. Mortgage payments, school levies, even Friday night lights. Teachers nervously recalculated class sizes. Dairy Queen managers shaved 2 hours off every shift. A single memo did what a century of weather, wars, and recessions could not. Silenced the heartbeat of an industrial village. A week later, City Council held an emergency session. Property tax revenue was projected to fall 7 figures in the next fiscal year. Their solution? Close 2 parks, defer road repairs, and pray for a miracle. Prayer is powerful, but it doesn't pay asphalt crews. Number 4. Supply chains. SNAP crops. Crumble planting season does not wait for boardroom excuses. Sunlight and soil temperatures obey their own clock. Farmers needed hydraulic pumps, seed meters, DF sensors, simple parts that used to arrive overnight, from a warehouse 2 counties away. Now those boxes were stuck on container ships bobbing toward Brazil, waiting for a crane that spoke Portuguese. In North Dakota, a co-op mechanic welded together 2 cracked gear cases with barn door hinges, just to keep a planter moving. In Illinois, a father and son stripped the starter off a 30-year-old combine to revive their newer machine, cannibalizing the past to rescue the present. Some desperate growers turned to the so-called Red Underground, Telegram groups where anonymous resellers offered almost matching parts at 3 times retail. Miss a planting window by 1 week, and yield might drop 10%. Miss by 2, and you flirt with bankruptcy. By June, agronomists reported hundreds of thousands of acres planted late or not at all. University extension hotlines lit up with questions they'd never fielded before. Can I 3D print an injector? Nozzle? The unspoken answer? You can try, but corn is not patient. If you believe machinery should serve the farmer, not the other way around, hit like and subscribe. Let's keep these stories alive long after the boardrooms move on. Number 3. The rival stampede. Green, orange, and hometown. Gray case. IH's retreat left a vacuum, and nature despises vacuums. John Deere dealers fanned out with green rescue rebates, up to $5,000 for any red traded site unseen. Kubota rolled out glossy trailers to county fairs, letting kids climb bright orange fenders while parents sipped free coffee. Billboards popped up overnight. Keep rolling. We're still here. Meanwhile, something quieter and potentially bigger sprouted in machine sheds and farm kitchens. Independent startups. Liberty Tractor Company, founded by three ex-Case engineers, promised a tractor with 0 proprietary software locks. They live-streamed a prototype welded from raw plate steel and crowd-funded millions in 48 hours. Prairie Iron Works announced a stripped-down 90-horse utility model that could be rebuilt with standard sockets and a farm shop press. Their slogan? Fix it in the field, not with a firmware update. Used red prices collapsed. Auctioneers, who once opened bids at $120K, now begged at $70K. One Kansas farmer joked he got more calls about his old machine than when he'd listed a classic Mustang. People hunting parts, not horsepower. A color that had ruled parades for a century suddenly looked like yesterday's paint. Number 2. Lawyers, lawmakers, and lashback. When loyalty breaks, litigation follows. By autumn, court dockets in 5 states brimmed with lawsuits. Workers citing federal layoff laws, dealers claiming breach of promise, towns demanding clawbacks of tax abatements granted in good faith. One class action seeks nearly $500 million. Even if courts trim that figure, legal fees alone could buy enough tractors to seed half the Corn Belt. Capitol Hill smelled populist gold. The Keep It Made Here Act stormed into committee. Hearings, threatening to yank incentives from any firm that ships jobs offshore within 5 years of taking taxpayer money. Cable commentators fought over phrases like economic nationalism and protectionist overreach, but nobody denied the optics. Empty factories next to foreclosed homes make potent campaign ads. Lobbyists countered with white papers on global competitiveness. Voters countered with photos of padlocked time clocks. For the first time in decades, rural anger and urban skepticism aligned. Maybe American manufacturing deserves teeth, not just talking points. Number 1. Culture on the auction. Block paint fades, but heritage usually endures, until the machines that carried that heritage rust behind hedgerows. County fair boards quietly renamed the Red Parade to Heritage Machinery Day, hoping no one noticed the missing sponsor. Trade school instructors scrapped red diagnostic modules for universal hydraulics. A 12-year-old 4-H kid peeled the Case logo off his toy tractor before show and tell. Classmates nodded, understanding without words. Scholarships tied to the brand vanished. Little League uniforms arrived without sponsor patches, and concession stand moms passed a coffee can for donations. High school juniors who once dreamed of AG mechanic careers Googled welding schools in Texas oil fields instead. Yet out of that grief, stubborn seeds root deeper. Community co-ops refurbish abandoned warehouses into machine shops, teaching apprentices to mill gears the old-fashioned way. Local foundations raise micro-grants so farm kids can prototype hay rake parts on tabletop CNC routers. And every time a startup posts a video of a repairable farmer-owned tractor roaring to life, thousands share it with a 3-word caption: "Never again, Red." Case IH's $34 billion retreat is a scar across America's breadbasket, a warning that quarterly gains can torch generational trust overnight. But drought sometimes uncovers buried seed. In machine sheds from Ohio to Oklahoma, welders and code writers are forging a new covenant: iron that stays put, software that opens, and paint jobs earned, not inherited. The next parade may not be red, green, or orange. It might be raw steel gray, a color that says, built here, rebuilt here, staying here. So to every farmer, welder, and high school kid who still believes tomorrow can be fixed with grit and a good wrench, this channel is for you. Stick around. The fight isn't over. It's just shifting into a lower gear. And low gear pulls the heaviest loads.